We are here for the experts and here for the novices. Here for the courageous, but also the nervous. Here for the champions, as well as their trainers. Here for the city, and here for the heartland. When we are close to horses, we connect to something deeper within. Our journey with horses helps us become the best version of ourselves. We are the American horse community. And we are here to help you connect with horses.
Thank you for playing that video, Sean. Hope you enjoyed that video commercial campaign created by the American Horse Council's Marketing Alliance program to encourage and excite support for the equine industry. You can view it again if you wish at hereforhorses.org. And if we can pull up the 2022 outcomes. Slides.
There we go. All right, so the 2022 equine sector outcomes were ordered at high priority as such, adding and improving equine expo infrastructure, defining horses as livestock, support for a state equine extension specialist, and recognizing consumer demand for entry-level equine experiences. And then there was a medium priority outcome that floated up, and that was supporting the Dickinson County Trail extension of the Flint Hills Trail. So let's begin with the success story. We'll have Sean launch that.
The Flint Hills Trail is the longest trail in Kansas and the 7th longest rail trail in America. Equestrians can find ample trailer parking at these 4 trailheads: Osawatomie, Rantoul, Pomona, and Bouchong. It is recommended that equestrians avoid the section between Rantoul and Pomona through Ottawa due to the proximity of the trail alongside an active railroad track and some construction still underway. In 2022, the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks was awarded an impressive grant for completion of the Flint Hills Trail onward west from Council Grove to the end of the line in Harrington. The trail will run from Council Grove to Wilsey at 11.3 miles, then on to Harrington, another 16.5 miles, and end at a railroad hub overlook. Currently, amenities for equestrians are limited along the completed trail, including water and bathrooms. Maybe in time, there will be opportunities to make perfect hitching stops for trail riders to patronize the communities along the Flint Hills Trail.
What'd you think of that?
I like it. So I'm Patty Stalder. I'm National Director for the Backcountry Horsemen of Kansas. We're affiliated with the Backcountry Horsemen of America. And I have a fun fact to share, and that is that the rail banking custodianship of this Flint Hills Trails was originally held by Bud Newell, Mr. Bud Newell of Topeka. And he also founded the Kansas Horse Council, and he also founded the Kansas Horsemen's Foundation, which later became the Konza Rail Trails Conservancy, who came up with the idea to create the Flint Hills Trail Park, to make the Flint Hills Trail become a state park. That grant for the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks was a great gift to accomplish that long-held goal of seeing 117 miles of rail trail completed. The Kansas Horse Council holds a memorandum of understanding with Backcountry Horsemen of Kansas, and we are the boots on the ground brigade, so to speak, and assist KDWP with trails maintenance and upkeep. And we also assist with equestrian amenities in a lot of state parks across the state.
Yeah, I'm so thankful for you. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I didn't introduce myself. Most of you know me anyway, but Justine Staten, Executive Director of the Kansas Horse Council. And I want to thank everybody for being with us today, both in person and online. So thanks for that fun fact, because That is fun. And I have another fun fact to share. The 2021 Equine Survey Report estimated that Kansas equine population is around 70,000 head of horses, but Texas leads the nation with about 767,000 horses. So at this time, can we turn our attention to Dr. Chelsea Huseman of Texas A&M to give us a glimpse into her role as a state equine extension specialist? Sean, do we have Chelsea?
Yeah, can you hear me, Justine?
There you are. Hey, Chelsea, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Well, thank you.
All right, awesome. Let me see here. Okay, got my presentation up. Thank you. Yeah, it's my pleasure to be with you all to talk a little bit about my role as an extension horse specialist in Texas. It really is a versatile role. I don't feel like I live the same day twice, and that's because there's just so many opportunities for advancement of equine education in the state. And this role looks a little bit different across every state, but the main goal of an extension specialist is that they're going to work within the land grant system, university system, and disseminate information to the state stakeholders that is research-based. And so for some states that looks a little different. So they may be a focus on, say, the 4-H aspect of that. Others may be the adult education aspect of that. For me in Texas, I do it all. My colleague, Dr. Jennifer Zoller, and I do both 4-H or youth-based education and adult and industry-based education. So it's very multifaceted, but certainly a job I enjoy a lot. So Justine, when you invited me to talk about this, I thought, well, absolutely, I could talk for hours about the things that I do. I'm going to try to keep it brief on some of the things that, as an extension specialist, I've been able to do in Texas that is greatly beneficial to the industry. So I guess I'll just have you slide advance, or would you like me? There we go. All right. Okay, so as Justine had alluded to, we are the state with the most horses in the U.S., currently about 767,000, according to the American Horse Council in 2017. And all of our data beyond this point, sadly, is from 2006. But we are working on getting updated data with the new economic impact report that the American Horse Council is working on this year. And that's thanks to the work that the horse specialists did in Texas. If you're not aware, the state breakout data has to be funded by the state. And in our case, our Department of Ag in Texas was not willing to pony up that fee. And so as extension specialists, we rallied our industry partners in Texas and made a case for the importance of that updated data. And we got the fee paid with industry partners. So one of the things I got to do in my role this past year, and it's really going to benefit our industry because our last data is from 2006. And there has been a lot that has happened in this world and the economy since 2006. So we need to know. So I'll give you some idea of some of the numbers from then, because they probably will still play in this way if I had to guess based off of what we know nationally. You know, horse activities generally encompass the recreation and showing as the majority of activities. In Texas, racing is we do have a racing industry. It's a little bit smaller. So I think those percentages will stay pretty similar across the board when we get our new data. All right, I'm ready for the next slide.
Otherwise.
There we go. Texas horses valued at around $4.2 billion and an economic impact of around $5.2 billion. And again, this is probably going to go drastically up since our 2006 numbers. But hopefully we still find ourselves in the #1 spot. I would assume so based off of the strength of our industry and where we're moving forward. So next slide, I want to talk a little bit about a few of the programs that have really impacted our state that have been led and directed by the extension horse specialists here in Texas. There's a multitude of things we do, but I want to just focus on a few of the more impactful ones. One of them is our summer horsemanship school program, which actually next to the state 4-H horse show is the longest extension program in the state of Texas. And we just celebrated our 51st year. Through this program, we take Texas A&M students and train them to be horsemanship instructors. And then they go out and teach at the grassroots level throughout the summer. And you can already start to see this is really multifaceted in the impact. So we've got our Texas A&M students being impacted by, one, developing their horsemanship skills, but also their teaching skills. But then taking that knowledge that we give them and those skills and sharing them with people across the state in these clinics. And Texas has 254 counties. So there is no way I'm getting out there to teach horsemanship clinics all summer, but I can enable students that can do that. And then that impact reaches even farther beyond just the people that they're teaching. So in those 51 years, we've conducted over 1,400 schools and estimated an impact of around 50,000 people and participants and family members and county extension personnel that were there to learn. All right, next slide. We also have a youth-based program that really has been developed to kind of bring up that next generation. I think we're all fully aware that the youth investment is very important right now to make sure we're filling in those gaps for the next generation to come up in our industry. And so through the development of the Texas 4-H Equine Ambassador Program, we've started to develop a very specific group of young adult leaders in our state that are going to be our advocates. They're going to be our educators. And so they spend their high school years developing their own skills, but also taking those skills back to their county and their district and their local horse industry and educating and being involved through this role. The impact of this program just over the last 3 years, and it's been going more than 3 years, but just in the last 3 years in data collecting, it's had an economic impact well over $1 million. And I say that from a standpoint of all of our ambassadors. So we have livestock ambassadors as well as our equine ambassadors, but in the state of Texas, the amount of volunteer hours that they have contributed has actually economically impacted what we do in the state of Texas. All right, next slide. A relatively new program that we've taken on here at the state really helps us hone in on what we would consider an at-risk horse population. We know that, being the highest number of horses in the U.S., a state that has those, we're going to probably have one of those higher populations of at-risk horses. And, we found ourselves telling our youth a lot, like, we have this problem, we need to do something about it, but not really giving them a very tangible thing to do. And so when a grant opportunity funded through our Texas horse industry came up, we said, let's do this. Let's pair a 4-H'er with an at-risk horse through an adoption partner here in Texas to improve the life and health of that horse over the course of the 4-H project year. And then it all culminates at our state 4-H horse show where they get to show in specialized classes for their horse. And at the end, that horse is substantially more adoptable if the family doesn't decide to keep the horse permanently, which a lot of them do. But these horses, really that transformation that they have with the 4-H'er over the year, and then just giving that youth that opportunity to be boots on the ground for an issue that we talk about all the time. We have, since its inception in 2021, we have had 24 horses that we've put through the program that have moved on to permanent homes and good placement. So we're pretty proud of the trajectory of this, but it's a new concept in that at the opportunity with the horse specialist garnering those funds and then making the program happening and making that connection between 4-H. 4-H, I might add in here, I don't know if I'd call it different in Texas, but historically 4-H horse project things, especially on the state level, have been handled by the horse specialists. But there are states that have strictly 4-H specialists who work on the youth side of things and they handle the 4-H horse project. I think decades ago, our 4-H people said, ooh, horses are too much, we can't do this. And they said, here, the horse specialists can handle it. And they did, and they still continue to do that, which is great because with our hand in there with those 4-H youth, we're helping develop that next generation, like I'd mentioned earlier, but we're also inadvertently advocating and recruiting for Texas A&M. I mean, it's just inevitable as employees or faculties through the A&M system. We're also leading those kids to hopefully becoming a part of that university as well within the state. All right, next slide. So besides some of those programs I've mentioned, there's a lot of education development that goes on with this role. And, you know, in my role specifically, I have a lot of interest in capitalizing on technological advancements to bring education to a farther reach. So a lot of the things I do help serve our residents of the state, but also it goes on to be useful on a national and international level as well. One of those examples is our equine reproductive management courses. We had a need within our state of lay people wanting hands-on training or even just a better understanding of reproductive practices so that they could either save themselves some money or they could be more involved in understanding of maybe what a layperson was doing for them or their veterinarian was doing for them. And so this really has taken off over the last decade in providing some of that educational information. We have that both online and in person. And I will say the online reach of this has been really impactful and just an example of one of those things where when we use technology within our roles, we can help even beyond our state. And then finally, on the next slide, we manage social media. So we have a presence that helps bring education to Texans through social media. It certainly can't be something that is ignored. It's utilized quite a bit. And I guess I'm getting ahead of myself here because this is the app that has been developed by the horse specialists here at Texas A&M. If you think of kind of like an Angie's List for horse people, on this app, you can get on for free and look up professionals, events, and educational opportunities and so forth within your area of Texas. So if you look up farriers and you pull up the map, and let's say you're driving through Fort Worth or you're at a show in Fort Worth and you need a farrier, but you're not from there, you can pull that up and look up a farrier to potentially come get your horse taken care of. We also really wanted to connect people back to their county extension. It's amazing how many people don't realize that resource is available to them. So through our office here, we developed this app that really brings Texans together and brings kind of an Angie's List informational right at the mobile aspect. And then I've already talked about the social media. That's my next slide. That's also a presence where we make sure that we're keeping people abreast of what's going on in Texas. So we also utilize these outlets to pass along any alerts or concerns, anything of interest within the industry. And I will say, if you're going to go check us out on social media, we're much stronger on Facebook. I mean, I am a woman in my 40s, so Instagram just never caught on with me. I'm not that young generation, but we try to make our interns and our grad students help us with the Instagram.
Fantastic.
I think that's it. Is that the end of my slides?
That's great stuff. I really appreciate you sharing that. And I'm already making notes of ideas that I want to talk to Dr. Day later about. So all good. Thank you so much for being with us. I'm sure you and I'll probably be reaching back out and asking more questions about things. So were there any questions in the chat?
No questions in the chat.
Any questions in the room?
Yeah. We're a little bit behind schedule, so.
How many states have state extension equine specialists?
No, I don't know. We'd have to probably study that.
Yeah, I don't know, Ron. A lot do.
And like Texas doesn't have a state horse council. So there are some services, or in some places, their Farm Bureau might be their equine advocacy. So I actually am working on doing an overlay map for the Coalition of State Horse Councils of what services are out there. So hopefully we can get that information, share that out.
Yeah, I'd say, as just a rough guess, I'm thinking about 25 states probably have a horse specialist. In Texas, we're pretty fortunate that we have 2, but a lot of states might have a faculty member who actually only has a percentage of their position dedicated to extension. So like 50% is extension, 50% is teaching. One group you all might have interest in looking into kind of further that knowledge is the extension horses. And that is a collaborative of all extension horse specialists across the US. And most of them are horse specialists, but there are a few county folks from various states that are on that group as well. And they're very active.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. Really appreciate your time and your presentation.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Yep, thank you, Dr. Huseman. Our next guest will give us an inside update on the status of the K-State Arena project and more. So let's welcome Dr. Michael Day from K-State Animal Sciences and Christian Callahan from the K-State University Foundation. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Suzanne. Pleasure to be here. You know, you're fortunate. You are the first ones to see this set of slides. First, you know, we got these pulled together. This is a very active project. We had a 3-hour meeting on it this morning with the architect. And it was myself and Dave Nichols, who many of you probably know. Dave is working very closely with this project and the on-campus projects. In addition to that, our steering committee for this project includes Justin Jansen, Casey Wynn, our rodeo coach, Teresa Dalpett, who many of you know, Chris Molnix, Marty Veneer, and Susan Metzger from the president's office. So we have a pretty good group that we work through this and make revisions and then go with the steering committee and work through the project. And so I'm guessing several in this room have worked on this project for many years. I think the first plan I saw was 1997 for some type of an arena. And, you know, the groundbreaking for this, I think it's official, Christian, is going to be December 15th of this year. So this thing is going to start in early in 2024, and I think a projected end date of mid-2025. So this is reality. And what I'm going to share with you today is the project that we're concentrated on now. There are other things, you know, stall barns, a rodeo stalling area, other things that are being talked about in this area, but right now we're concentrating on getting this arena done. And I'm going to share with you what I can about that. If we have time at the end, I'll talk a bit about improvements at the horse unit also. If we go to the next slide. So I think maybe many of you are familiar with the location. This is the new Animal Science Arena. It will be placed right next to Burtis Arena, a place of much activity this weekend, along with the purebred beef. Another 300 kids wear purebred beef for the 4-H sweepstakes. And so it's really rounding out our campus. We call this the Animal Science Gateway, and that's going to round out that campus. And we talk about recruiting students and bringing parents and people into campus. This really is the last piece to add to the Stanley Stout and the other attractions in that area. And it's going to be really important for K-State. So it's going to locate right here. You can see the parking. There's been some improvements already up here in some of the land. You can park here, you can park back here, and so it's moving forward. Next slide. So here is an overview of the arena as it sets now. Start with the arena itself, 130 by 245. The entrance to the west is up here, and I've got a blow up of that, but that's where everyone will come in. The seating at present, about 2,700 with some premium seats in the middle here for some of the attendees, and then bleacher seating that goes on around. You can see down here, these are the holding pens, the bucking chutes, all the rodeo support, as well as the roping chute out here. A staging area back here with an animal wash area on this end. And I think that kind of rounds out the major. If you go to the next slide, just a little blow up of the entryway. So you come in up here, a concession area here, sales area up at the top. And then you can see the restrooms. When you put that many seats in, the code says you gotta put a lot of bathrooms in, so you're probably noticing what looks like a bunch of restrooms there going out each way. Again, the premium seats, there'll be a walkway around underneath all of those bleachers for access at advantage points as you go along. Can you go back one just a second? I want to show you this piece right here. This is the mezzanine, okay? And that's gonna set right here and come across here right over the bucking chutes. And so that mezzanine has two really important parts. Down here is a VIP area, so that'll be a viewing area that's up above that you can look out and see the arena. And then this walkway comes all the way across right above the bucking chute. You know, Dr. Nichols says those will be the high dollar seats for some of the events in rodeo. And this last little tail over here is actually a press box, so you can view from over at that end. And again, the staging area here for barrel racing, but it'll be small livestock shows, those kind of things. Like I said, we have 300 kids here for that competition, and that's not unusual for us to have anywhere from 300 to, I don't know, 500, 600 people here for some of those events. Of course, you can envision horse shows, roping, livestock shows, all those kinds of things in this space. If we can just keep going, one more. I'll go through these really quick. The entrance from the west, and I've got a picture of that. The pens up at the east down here, and then of course you got the north and south end. Go ahead. So a view then of this entryway as you look from above. If you're wondering, boy, how is this oriented? If you've been to Burtis, that's Burtis sitting right in behind there. Okay, the road goes up in between there. A little more of a blow up of the entryway of the facility. Keep going. Okay, if you get inside and you look to the west, you can see Kansas State University Animal Science Arena. If you look back to the east, to the south, if I'm guessing many of you are aware, we named the arena portion within the facility for Dwayne Walker and family TJ quarter horses. So that's going to be an important part of recognition here. And then a little more blow up. You can see the premium seats, the bucking chutes, the roping chutes, those kind of things. Go ahead. Okay, back up one, please. I'm gonna stop there. Questions about the project, the way it's set up, the way, anything?
So what's the projection for breaking ground on that? I know you have a timeline of.
So the ceremony will be December 15th. I would guess the ground, the actual groundbreaking when they start digging, probably in February, March. I would think so. You know, we've got some steps to finish. We're still working on final steps of the design, and of course it'll be bid, but I think the intent, Christian, that's when it's supposed to happen.
Yeah, December 15th, just recently has been approved of the groundbreaking, so we will have that coming on. Then like Dr. Day said, it'll take a little bit more before actual ground gets broke, but full scope for the project, what we've been told is about 1.5 years from kind of start to finish once dirt finally starts moving.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
what's the arrangement between animal sciences, use of the facility, the rodeo club, use the facility through the winter? Has that been ironed out?
So good question. And so the facility will be managed through the department. Okay.
Mhm.
And then the arrangements will be, obviously, the college rodeo is that weekend is reserved. And then I think it will line up from the perspective of animal science, College of Ag, K-State activities will, of course, take precedence in here that require that space. And that's even more so, Sherry, that Weber Arena is gonna go away. And so this is the single spot. So that'll be the first level, but that won't be every weekend. That won't be all the time. So then the next level, is livestock, equine type of activities. You know, we don't have interest in having, I don't know, flower shows and, the example I always use is monster trucks and those kinds of things. It's a dirt floor arena. It's designed to be used, for animals. And so that's sort of the way it's arranged, for the use, and there'll be a use fee, and we haven't got to that point yet. It really, we've got time to sort of work that out. So,
And that is a good point. It's a dirt floor. It's gonna stay a dirt floor.
yes, ma'am. Yeah, you know, we look at this for education, for recruiting, for linking up with our stakeholders and the industries and you know, I think we will have a lot more requests to use it than we have available time once we start plugging in all the different, an example, the example has, or the department has, you know, junior species days, and not every year, but they alternate them, and, you know, there's 4 or 5 of those a year, and those are 400, 500, 600 people that come in for those, and so, and they involve animals and their use, so you start thinking about that, you start thinking about football weekends, and how those conflict at least with space. It's gonna be a balance, and we just, particularly with Weber Arena going down, just trying to keep this, you know, keep this campus really active all the time. Yeah, Ron?
How does 2,700 seats compare to Weber's capacity?
It is about the same. You know, the seating, the fire code in Weber is around 3,000. And so it's close to that same.
Dr. Day, we have a couple of questions in the chat.
Yes, okay.
Jennifer is asking, is boarding horses gonna be an option for students?
No, we already have boarding for the rodeo, but there's no boarding in this facility. Yes.
Then another question, will the current IHSA teams have access to this facility?
Yeah, and I haven't talked with Ann lately, but clearly for competitions, those kind of things, it would be available. You know, we just have to schedule those. You know, if we have teams coming in and a competition going on, it would be, yes.
Great. You wanna touch on?
How much time?
You've got about 10 minutes
I
left.
have one more
Okay.
question real quick.
Okay, yeah.
What impact do you foresee on enrollment numbers? Do you think that's gonna improve the stats?
Oh, yes, I think it will, you know, and I think it's interesting, pleased to say this year, this fall, our enrollment is up already. It's not linked to this, but I sincerely believe, if you think back to that first slide that I had, where you come up that hill and you've got purebred over here and you've got this arena over here and you've got the Stout Center, and we have people coming in and using this facility and bringing their kids with them, and as well as the many youth activities we already do. I believe it's gonna positively impact it. It's, you know, it's what we do. And
I think there's definitely gonna be a proof of need there. Ann is texting me and asking, because she's joined virtually.
Yeah.
She wanted to know how many students are in the rodeo club. Do you have any idea of that?
Oh, shoot, I wanna say around 50, Justine and Ann, but I think I'm kind of guessing
Okay,
at
and
that.
then she was also asking, if you perceive that maybe the IHSA girls could eventually be, just like the rodeo club, part of that facility, maybe boarding there as well.
Yeah, that's so far down the road, I don't.
Phase 2.
Yeah, it's, you know, the permanent boarding is not a big part of the plans going forward right now, adding additional boarding capacities, but. you know, this thing, we're early. And we're really focused on getting this part done before we, you know, expand to others, so. Yeah.
Definitely, there's a need with Weber going away, so.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we have, how much time left?
Well, Dr. Day has about 10 minutes total.
All right. You
How
want
much you got? Two?
Just a little bit, yeah. One,
Okay.
one or two.
Well, I'll make a few comments about the horse unit, and so, first thing I wanna say is, you know, at one point we had the arena, the animal science arena and the horse unit were linked together, and they're still linked together, and they're approved by these renovations are approved by K-Board. At present time, the horse unit is still there, it's still a need, it's just that as we do fundraising to round out the big project, the arena is part of all the projects on campus now. You know, the fundraising for that is, it's not on hold, but it's in the background of making sure we get this step done with what's going on. So we've got some pretty advanced pictures. Is that the first one? Okay, so this is the go back one, sorry. So the existing facility is here. We've got a Mare Motel, the headquarters where all the breeding occurs, lots of pens surrounding the area. And if we go forward one slide, this is where we are on the phase one aspects of this project. And these are designs that came through GH2 also. So there's a lot written there. The major additions, a brand new headquarters, a new stall barn here, okay? You see the existing headquarters still there because we don't feel like we can go through renovation here without having someplace for the program. So it'll be built while the other part of the program is under operation. A couple key additions, a covered panel walker up here in the top right. The existing outdoor arena would be improved. And then this roadway you see coming through here with turnouts for the horses here, and a small barn up here for an isolation facility. One other change there, if you don't know, there's a driveway that comes through in here somewhere and goes up to a residence, so that's gonna be moved also. So we've got a secure facility. Please go ahead. One more. So as you see, you remove then, you take out the headquarters, take out some of the existing buildings. This is what it's gonna look like. I've got some good pictures I'll show you as we move forward here, but that's just with the existing facilities taken out. Hopefully you got kind of a feel for how this thing's gonna be laid out. So if we go ahead. And there is a master plan for this facility. What I was showing you was phase one. What is in addition to the phase one? This outdoor arena would be added down here. Again, the new headquarters and stall barn. This existing outdoor arena would be covered. A couple of new round pens here and some general overall improvements there. So it's in a phase type of consideration too. With different steps. 5 minutes? Okay. Any questions on that before I show you, start breaking it down to some specific pictures? Let's go ahead. We'll go to the end here. The arrangement, I'm not going to spend a lot of time. This is the new headquarters, a breeding area on this side, the stallion area over here, a classroom that sits in the middle, the office and restrooms and that kind of support there. Next slide. Looking at this facility from the north, from the south, here's the entrance to the south. Keep going. The stall barn, one end is conditioned. This end of the stall barn is conditioned. 10 stalls there, pack room, equipment storage, a couple wash saddling areas. And then outdoor, these are covered tack-up areas outside as you come out of the stall barn. This will be an open-sided stall barn on this end. Again, 10 more stalls added in there. Keep going, again, from the south is the entrance, north up here, we'll keep going. So here's a visual. One thing I think I forgot to mention, the existing Mare Motel, as it's called now, there'll be, pens added to it, stalls added to it, and it's gonna become a stallion barn. That's what you're seeing right here. It's out to the west. Here is the stall barn down here. You see the headquarters out here. And so the parking would kind of shift over here, the parking to the north of that. Next slide. Different view, so we jumped over on the other side of the stall barn. Here's the tack up areas back here. Here's the edge of the outdoor arena. Keep going. This now we can't see here on the bottom. This is the master plan. Okay, so the big addition here, here's the stall barn, here's the covered arena. So you would add that covered arena. Here you can see it flip back the other way with the hot walker over here, the headquarters there. Go one more, please. Addition of a couple of round pens in this area. And again, we're back to the stallion barn right here. And the new outdoor arena is probably the feature of this diagram. Okay. Any questions on the facility? I'll turn it over to you, Christian. Yes, 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Sounds good. So, as Justine mentioned earlier, I'm Christian Callahan. I'm with the KSU Foundation and work specifically on College of Agriculture projects. So right now on this project, like we said, December 15th is our anticipated groundbreaking, which we're really excited for, to see this project continue moving forward. For about the past year and a half, we've been in the feasibility side of this, going and gathering pledges for this right now. So we are currently fundraising all the way up to $23 million just for the animal science arena complex. As of today, we sit just a little bit over 18 million. On top of the 18 million too, we currently have over $7 million in ask currently out to individuals, stakeholders, foundations, that we're hoping to close here pretty soon, before December here. So currently right now for the project, we're just shy of it looks like we're at 4.8 million to fulfill that goal. But we're looking pretty hopeful and pretty excited for that for December 15th. As Dr. Day alluded to, with some of the projects on campus, with some of the demolition with Weber Arena, that is why the Animal Science Arena has really taken a fundraising priority here to make sure we can get this facility up and moving, so we can keep having great events for Kansas State University and other stakeholders. Once we kind of move through and get this project on its way, then we'll start going and looking more at some of those phases. Like Dr. Day said, the horse unit is already keyboard approved, so we are still currently showing that to active stakeholders and donors to gauge interest on that and see how they would like to support with that. So we'll kind of move on to that as the next priority when it comes to the equine space of things, and then in the future phases too of the, of course, Animal Science Gateway. Part of my job too is if, as all of you guys are very active in the equine sector in the state of Kansas and outwards, if you have someone that you think would be interested in giving back towards this, or stakeholders that would like to be involved, I can be your main point of contact for those conversations. I also travel across the country too, so you'll see me probably at a lot of different shows going on, like the World AQHA World Show, Pink Horse World Show as well. So if you're in the barn, stop me. I'm always happy to make an introduction and let them know the great things happening at K-State. So thank you.
So, don't have any questions in the chat. Any last questions for these guys before we step out? All right, well, thank you guys for the updates. We're pretty excited about the projects that you're working on, which kind of leads into our next thing, which is talking about the horse show business in Kansas. So Justine, if you want to take over for that panel.
Yeah, absolutely. We should have Ann White and Bobby Hines on Zoom, and we have Sherry Grinstead in the room with us today. So excited that you all to be here. Thank you. Since we're clipping along as briefly and succinctly as we can, I think we'll just kind of do a round robin, take about 1 minute for each of you, and I'll just kind of address your name, and then you can go with that to introduce yourself and give a summary of your organization, anything you want to share there. So Sherry, I can see you, so we'll start with you.
Okay, thank you, Justine. I'm Sherry Grinstead. I'm currently the Kansas Paint Horse Association president. I also serve as an American Paint Horse Association state director. I'm the long range planning committee chair for APHA. Set on two task force, one, the amateur lesson giver task force, and then a racing task force. Belong to the APHA racing committee, and then I am the chair of the paint barrel racing incentive program. KPHA has been a product of Kansas since 1964. We're one of the first clubs or associations that actually were the seventh in the APHA world. And we have a very active club, and we would like to visit with you more about that later.
Fantastic, thank you. And White?
Is my audio on? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Take it
Okay.
away.
I am the president of the Kansas Hunter Jumper Association, and I coach the Kansas State IHSA, which is the Intercollegiate Horse Show Association team, and house them at my house. And I am just sorry I'm late to the party.
Well, we're glad you can still join us. Bobby Hines, are you on?
I'm on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So I'm the advisor of the Kansas Quarter Horse Youth Association, and KQHA has had a long-standing relationship with K-State. We were actually founded on campus, and that was late 40s, early 50s. So we've been here for quite a while. Our youth association is really strong right now. We're very happy with that, and we'd like to really increase it and continue to possibly work with some others with some activities there.
Wonderful. All right, we'll go, how about in the same order? So first question I have is paint horses. On average, how many shows do you host each year? And of that, how many would you say are in Kansas and how many are out of state?
Okay. Prior to COVID, we probably had 3 to 5 weekends through the year of shows. We ran 2 shows a weekend. Last year, 2023, we were just kind of coming back in again to the show genre, and last year we had 2 weekend shows, or excuse me, 2023, we had 2 weekend shows. We did partner with another association. Next year, we will be back up to 4 weekend shows. Out of the state of Kansas, we host a show with Nebraska for 1 weekend, and we also co-host the Zone 3 show. That's been in Colorado and Nebraska. And this year, we're taking Paint Horse Congress to Oklahoma City. So that would be the first year at Oklahoma City for us. Last year, we were in Waco. Prior to that, we were in Tulsa for about 9 years.
Fantastic. And how about the Kansas Hunter Jumpers? How many shows each year in state and out of state?
We host anywhere from 8 to 12 horse shows, and they all are held within the state of Kansas. But always looking for facilities to, we've gotten as opportunities to go places that have gotten more limited, we find ourselves using the same 2 or 3 just multiple times. Doesn't get us spread out very much.
And Bobby?
So KQHA hosts 2 shows a year, and our amateur association hosts another one. And then there are 8 shows that are produced by others, and 2 of those are out of state. Our largest largest show is the Prairie Classic, and KQHA is the host of that show. And that is taken out of state to Oklahoma City due to its size. We regularly use the Hutchinson and Topeka facilities. One of our producers has used Lions as well. And then we approve an Oklahoma show and the American Royal for year-end points as well.
Fantastic. All right, Sherry, what are some of the reasons that you take like the Congress and go to Oklahoma?
The easiest answer would be because it has the necessary facilities to handle our horse show. In Kansas, we held Congress here from 72 to the end of almost to 2000. The Wichita facility then was no longer available, could not find a facility in Kansas that would allow us to stall over 650 horses, 3 show pens, multiple practice pens. So at that point, we went to the American Royal. We did partner with the Missouri Club at the Royal for a couple of years, and then found our home in Tulsa for the last 9-10 years. This year we're going to try Oklahoma City again, just because of the size of the facility and the amenities that it does offer us.
Does that draw from all over the US or kind of central region?
It does. I mean, a nice thing about having shows in Oklahoma and Texas is you've already got the horse base there. But we do have Utah, the eastern states, Florida, California, Arizona attend Congress.
Ann, I know you said that you're hosting KHJA all in Kansas, and I imagine, I think I know that you guys do practices over the state line or do at least the American Royal. Do you have, when you're at those out-of-state shows, I'd say, or events, schooling shows, etc., are you maybe picking up some of those participants to come back and exhibit with KHJA?
Yes, I think so, but so I could speak a little bit too as a member, as the USEF and the United States Equestrian Federation and the United States Eventing Association. So both those organizations don't host any horse shows in Kansas due to lack of facilities. So members of the Eventing Association or the rated horse shows, we have to travel outside the state of Kansas to be able to compete at all. And KHJ, we do, now I think about, we do a couple of shows at Longview, which technically is in Missouri. And those people do come here to our horse shows as well.
When you're doing the USEF shows, USDF, what kind of numbers are attending those? I mean, what's the volume of exhibitors?
Those shows, like, so typically Midwest, you would be in Des Moines, St. Louis, Texas, Oklahoma. And I would say the Midwest horse shows to date are anywhere from 300 to 500 horses.
And Bobby, talk about, so the Prairie Classic is in Oklahoma.
Yes, we host that in Oklahoma City. This year, we had a little over 1,300 entries with a total of 425 horses and sold about 720 stalls. So that includes all of the tax stalls. And we just don't have that facility here in Kansas. We use 3 arenas for competition at the fairgrounds there. And then we use another 3 for the warm-ups and general riding. So we just can't do that here in the state. We would very much like to bring it back in state, but we just can't. And we have exhibitors that branch out all the way to, New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, obviously Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas. We draw them in from Illinois, sometimes Louisiana and Mississippi. So it's a pretty good sized show. Has been a top 10 AQHA show in previous years too. So we just would very much like to come home, but until there's a facility large enough, we have to go out of state.
Hopefully we'll hear about Royal sometime too, so. All right. Aside from schedule availability, we'll start with you, Sherry. What are two most important factors when you're selecting where you're gonna host your show? And it doesn't have to be the ones that you're taking out of state. It can be just, what are the things that are most important to you at any of your, when you're booking for a show?
Well, I probably shouldn't say this, but I will. Our exhibitor base has gotten a little more particular than it used to be. So what we look at for facilities are more even than location, or does it have an indoor pen to show in? Does it have, we hope, we would like for it to have a covered arena. Several of the venues in Kansas have practice pens, but they are not covered. Sufficient stall area, ventilation fans. Those are some of the things that we look at, I guess, is deal breakers if we don't have them.
Sure, thank you. Anne, how about you? What are some of the most important factors when you're looking to book for your events?
So above and beyond a roof over our head, I would say our people are most particular about the footing. So we do need multiple arenas, at least, you know, a place to horse show and a place to warm up. And the footing is super, super important for the jumping horses, and they just won't go if it's gonna be dirt or dirt clods or hard ground. So I would say footing would be the number one concern. And then obviously if you're hosting the show, you need to have enough stalls that you can bring the people in.
All right, and Bobby, how about from your perspective?
I think we all have the same concerns. Our ground is really important for our versatility ranch horse exhibitors, for the cow horse classes and the cutting, and that can be a challenge at times. But like Sherry said, I can't imagine we could ever host a show that was outside. Although I see other states host pretty large quarter horse shows outside in rain even, and they still have good numbers. So I kind of miss those good old days when we could just go to an arena and have a show. But unfortunately, many exhibitors expect to have, you know, the covered arena and good stalls. And I think for some of our facilities in Kansas, the stalling areas are becoming quite concerning, and that's adding to some of our difficulties as well. And I have to step out and make a vet appointment. So Mark is going to take over from this point. And I think Susan Tolick is still on the call as well.
Fantastic. All right, well, we're kind of getting down. How much time do we have left?
You are sitting pretty good.
Okay, wonderful. All right, let's kind of look at engaging for the future and growing. What is Kansas Paint Horse implementing to maybe entice newcomers or grow? Are there any new programs that you come up with? Tell us about that.
Okay. The short answer is yes. We've taken a really hard look at how our shows were run, and I would really say pre-COVID versus now. We have gone to a much more relaxed show schedule. So many of our exhibitors right now are the weekenders. They're amateurs that want to show in every class. They don't want to be hurried in the gate. So we have just tried to really slow things down. Affordability is an issue. We'd like to be able to shave back on show fees. However, our parent organization has costs too, and so they've kind of passed those on down to the grassroots. Also, our judging costs, cost of the venues has all gone up. And so the ability for us to minimize, reduce show fees is very, very difficult. I think the biggest thing we've done is just try to have a family atmosphere, cater to the walk trotters. We have a group of older, oh my gosh, I'm putting myself in that right now. But older exhibitors who are now coming back to the show pen. So we're offering walk trot classes for them. Of course, we offer walk trot classes for youth as well. Another thing that we are doing is reducing the number of judges that a group can show to, and that does reduce the overall cost to the consumer, the exhibitor for the weekend. What we found is the exhibitor today doesn't want, at least in our area, does not want to go to a 4-judge, 6-judge, 8-judge show. They are running for year-end points, not breed association points. And so that's kind of where we are marketing the individuals that we're marketing our show toward.
Very interesting. And what would you say, does the Hunter Jumper Association have any kind of program or method of trying to recruit newcomers in, or are you seeing a growth or anything special there?
Yes, I would say that we are definitely not seeing a growth. I think that we were seeing a decline in the number of participants in the horse shows. I think our horse shows are good. So we've gone beyond the horse show, and we are trying to just reach out to as an industry that, you know, people and try to recruit new people to want to do equine activities. And so we are doing things to try to educate people that they don't have to own a horse to participate, to find a barn and take lessons and do horse shows, because owning horses, you know, is getting so expensive to where people can't afford it. So we are trying to let the word get out that you don't have to own a horse. You can lease a horse, you can get into a barn, do a lesson program. The latest thing we're doing, we just signed up to do the trick or treat thing at the Expo Center in October. So as all those kids come through, you know, we're going to be trying to reel them in and, you know, tell them to go tell their mom and dad they want to ride a horse, and give them places they can go and opportunities, and just reach out to new people to try to get them to participate.
That's an awesome little, we'll do a quick promo. Lauren Moore is here from the Expo Center. What's the date on that, Lauren?
That's Halloween weekend. It's like the 27th, 28th.
So Halloween
They have a
weekend.
show. They're gonna be on grounds doing a show that weekend.
So
anyway.
it's during your Hunter Jumper show there. That's exciting. Thanks for sharing that. Hopefully we'll get more people to come out and check it out. And we have Mark and we have Susan. And I know Susan had been with us at Equifest and was talking about some new programs. I'd love to hear what Quartercrest is doing to really engage newcomers and the new programs that you have going on. So either one.
Hi. You kind of broke up partway through that question, so I'm not 100% sure I heard it, but you know, we've launched our horseback riding program for the state of Kansas. I am a national director, and that is the committee that I sit on, is our horseback riding program. So that includes, what we want to do is get people who do anything with their horses. It's time driving, it's practicing showmanship, it's teaching your young horse to lunge. You know, we have it open to all breeds also. So it's trying to draw in more youth and really anybody. Any time that you spend with your horse is a great time. So we're hoping to see where this will develop into. I think, you know, it'll be good to see where that goes. We're trying to increase the judging contest that, you know, we're trying to help sponsor, as you know, Justine. So just things like that, trying to reach out to our youth.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited about that. So we've got 5 minutes left here. Yeah, so that's our plug for Equifest. So Kansas Quarter Horse Association came in and hosted the youth judging contest at Equifest this spring. And now we're talking with 4-H about coming in to join Quarter Horse and maybe doing a double opportunity for points there placement. So thank you. Yeah, that's really awesome. All right.
In the chat, Justine, we have some comments and
Okay.
a question,
Great.
if I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
It kind of adds to what Sherry was saying about exhibitors looking for an experience. What things can their family do while they're at the show. A lot of people want to bring their families along that may not be showing. And then another question was, is there any idea for bringing in gated horses, obstacle courses, or other things to reach to the smaller outlying areas of horse ownership? So I think some of that's been touched on, but I just wanted to make sure that you guys heard those comments from the chat.
Anybody out here that's with us know much about any of the gated horse clubs or associations? Because we really don't have a strong presence of the gated folks. We do bring in some clinicians at Equifest for gated, but I just honestly don't know the groups that are exhibiting.
I would say, excuse me, Kansas Pinto does offer gated horse classes
Okay.
within their Pinto shows. They just held a show last weekend and hosted some paint horse classes within that show. So yes, there's some opportunities there for the Pinto classes. And then I'd like to just answer back on the question for family experiences. We do try to add some fun classes and fun events to our shows. I myself may or may not have taken a dive with a bucket full of water in the show pen in a race before. We do dog races to bring some lividity into the show. We also host meals occasionally for our exhibitors. So just try to give them some activities where we all kind of come together without competition always being what brings us there. So some good camaraderie as well.
Thank you.
We are kind of in talks with bringing a Peruvian show next year.
A Peruvian? Oh, interesting. Wow, there we go. Some Pasapinos coming. All right, well, keep us posted. We'll share flyers. I'm sure there'll be some interest in checking that out.
Couple of minutes left. Any questions from those in person?
Okay, well, we can wrap it up with, just if there's any last things that, Mark, is there anything you want to add from the quarter horse perspective? Any comments that you want to leave us with? Any promo ideas?
Oh, that's good, Justine. No, I think Terry hit it on the head. Affordable to the user or to the exhibitor is a huge issue. And with every year, our current arena is going up in fees. It's making it difficult to try to make any money. We're lucky we make money in one of our shows that's out of state, and if we didn't, it would be difficult to keep losing money at a lot of these other shows. And so some of the things we're looking at is dropping down to a single judge and a weekend show. So going back to what we used to do when we showed outside. You'd have a single judge, you show your on Saturday, and you might then have another small show on Sunday at a different arena, and you go home kind of thing. And because we do have people that want to go, but yet aren't ready for the 2-3 judge shows and the expense that comes with 2 to 3 judges. And, like a single ride, it makes it very difficult to sort of get your feet wet and be willing to take that bath if you don't have a good show.
Sure. Sure.
And we throw in some walk trots. One of our challenges, AQHA keeps expanding what a show looks like. And so we keep getting extra divisions of exhibitors, horses, and then, you throw in a walk trot, and all of a sudden you take that across, 6-8 divisions. And now all of a sudden that's a lot of classes for that thing to happen. And so, we've got to try to manage the expectations there. We're looking at a lot of specialty shows, trying to go that route, maybe work with the MBHA and or the Barrel Bash and come in with maybe an AQHA special event, barrels and poles, or try to do, exclusive ranch horse shows. They do those in Hutch, seem to have some luck. This fall in Topeka, we're going to have a ranch horse show. It's going to be a combination of versatility ranch horse and AQHA ranch horse with a couple, we'll also have halter and showmanship and a few regular classes that would be there, so that we're trying to get it so that we fit within 16, 18 hours in the day. So the judges have a few hours to sleep. Because when we start dealing with our ranch horse shows, we get a lot of horses, for us, 75 to 100 ranch horses who they all show in 5 to 6 events. That starts becoming a long day when you have a lot of patterns. And so we're trying to figure out how to make things fit with only one arena. If we had 2 arenas, we could potentially stage people. Cows, you do cattle work in this pen, and you do pattern stuff in another pen, and then you got still a place to warm up. And then we can start, people could sort of come and exhibit when they're available, do their thing, and they move to another pen. And that would help us. I mean, that's one of the things that Prairie Classic, when it was in Wichita, before that facility closed down, used to do. They used to have the regular horse show inside, and then the outside barn, Cal Cofer would go out and manage the speed events. And so they could be happening simultaneously, and if someone had to be in the other arena, they knew that. They'd be informed of it, they could do it.
Yeah.
And so we're really strapped when we have a show pen and a practice pen.
We all missed the layout of Wichita because it was so versatile. You could have 3, 4 arenas even out of all that facility, however you build it. So absolutely. Well, that's great to hear. We are running short on time, but I do want to give Ann just a quick minute if there's anything else that you want to leave with us.
I think everybody's kind of saying the same thing. Again, just for me and the English world, the footing and outdoor footing, we can ride in the rain. We do it at, Kentucky Horse Park. We ride out in the rain. All the big venues that we show at across the country, we ride outdoors a lot. So I put my money into good footing and all weather footing and multiple arenas.
Fantastic. All right. Well, I want to thank our panelists for being with us today, giving us a wealth of insight as to what's going on out there in the show business world and ways to engage in future activities. Thank you. All right, we've got a little commercial for our 4-H that we'll have Sean cue up and roll. It's real brief, but it's worth hearing.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Nordyke, your Kansas 4-H Ag Science Specialist. I'm excited about the upcoming 4-H Horse Show at the Kansas State Fair, and we invite you to come out to support the youth who will be competing in performance, speed, and ranch horse high point divisions. This year, we're expecting a larger number of youth competing under new pre-qualification criteria, and more prizes will be awarded with these changes. Come see us at the Kansas State Fair in Hutchinson, Kansas, September 14th, 15th, and 16th.
That was kind of a perfect wrap up of the panel because everybody's talking about new criteria and ways to engage more people. So there we go.
Hi.
Thank you for that. Now we're to the fun part of the meeting. For those of you guys that have participated before, we're going to prioritize challenges to work on for the next 12 months. For those of you that are online, we'll have Sean launch a poll where you can select 3 of the top priorities. You may have to scroll to be able to see all the choices, so make sure you do that. For those of you that are in the room, you may have noticed when you walked in on the wall over there, we have the priorities written out, and there's some sticky dots on the corner of that table over there. The color of the dot is not important, just use 3. You could put them all on 1 if that's the most important to you. And other, if there's something that's not listed up there that you think is important, we have markers over there. We would like you to write what that priority might be on that poster that says other. For those of you online, other says submit via chat. So we want to know if you select other, what that means to you. So we're going to spend some time doing that activity, and if there's any questions, let us know. But this is an important part of our ag sector discussion. So
sort of the 7th inning stretch to get up and stretch your legs.
That's right.
Fantastic.
New person.
So I'm gonna blind online. Okay. Okay, let's fly. Equine Expo infrastructure, how many are we? Okay, so we've got, I gotta find the right. Infrastructure, there we go, there's 11 here. And online, how many did we have for that?
It's a percentage, so we had 63%.
63%. Okay, and then defining horses as livestock, 1 here.
And 50% online.
Okay, and appointing a dedicated equine extension specialist. How many here did we have? 9, and online?
13%.
Okay, and supporting consumer demand of entry-level experiences. We have 5 here.
And 50% online.
50%. I'm gonna have to figure out how to equate that into percents and add it together. Restoring federal appropriations for USDA, none in the room. How many?
13% online.
Okay. Providing trail support for Flint Hills all the way to Dickinson County. We had none here.
38% online.
And I would say that that's probably already a success there in the with that new grant that was received, that $24 million. That's a go. There's probably not much more that we need to do other than once it's established. That's where backcountry comes in. And we'll continue to promote that, of course. Establishing an equine checkoff program. None in the room.
13% online.
Okay, and sharing equine economic impact results from 21 that has been shared.
50% online.
So 2 and 50%. Terrible handwriting. And locating funding to support Kansas horse racing. We have 3 here. And
0%.
And 0 online. And were there any write-ins anywhere?
No, but we did have a question asking a little more about what a checkoff program would be for the equine industry.
Well, there are different ways to do checkoff programs. There are different states that do it differently. And it could be on, you know, a couple pennies per 1,000 pounds of feed that the feed manufacturers would have to remit, or it could be, there's various ways of implementing that on a feed checkoff. Michigan was looking at doing it on Coggins. That's a little bit challenging because it comes out of the veterinarian's pocket. So I don't see that really flying here. I think Patty was here when the council pursued a feed checkoff. And there are different states that assess a feed checkoff differently. And then some states just have, just like your chickadee checkoff is totally a voluntary contribution that can be remitted through your taxes. So various ways that can be looked at.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Sean, do you have the last video that Justin wanted to share?
Yeah, it's question of the day. Are horses livestock or pets? Let's roll it.
Horses are defined as livestock in the USA, and they always have been, though in the mid-1990s, that concept started changing. HSUS and ASPCA started classifying horses as pets for persuasive campaigning. Though horses are sensitive to their surroundings, can provide emotional support to people, make nice companion animals, and can be trained for purposeful uses, they will forever be livestock. They graze throughout the day, they only sleep around 3 hours a day, they require larger dwelling space than typical household pets. You wouldn't take them for rides in your car and you don't sleep with them in your bed, right? Though their farm and agricultural duties may have evolved over time, their general maintenance requirements have not. While the type of cart they can pull has modernized, that does not change their skills or abilities to pull weight 3 to 4 times their body size. You may think it would be fun to just take your horse to work with you, let it lay at your feet by your desk. Will you tell it to load up in the car's back seat? Just because someone else doesn't make it a good idea. You can think it a pet or an ATV or a race car, but that doesn't make it really change. And in 2018, the USDA Farm Bill declared horses are livestock. The Kansas Constitution and statutes surrounding animal welfare and livestock all classify horses as livestock. To change this would have many negative implications for horse owners and breeders. Horses losing livestock classification would impact taxes and funding, research and medication access, animal keeping regulations, and liability law benefits. Repeat after me. Horses are livestock.
Thank you. All right. So we have just a few calendar reminders as we wrap up. Oh, yeah, we needed to say what the order of priorities are. So it looks like we've got top 3 high priorities would include adding or improving equine expo infrastructure and appointing, let's see, supporting consumer demand for entry-level experiences in number 2. And then in 3rd place, high priority would be appointing a dedicated Kansas equine extension specialist. All right, we'll go back later and we'll share out kind of the medium priority as it all kind of tallied up. So really appreciate everybody being with us today. I'll just close with a couple calendar reminders. We've got the Kansas Horse Council as part of the High Plains Horseman Day at Colby Community College, September 9th. Always want to remind everybody of the horse events that are taking place at Kansas State Fair. There will be a webinar to share out the economic impact data from 21, and we're going to do that in combination with Dr. Gregory Graff, who's a professor of economics and innovation entrepreneurship at Colorado State. So look for that in October. I'll be sending out reminders of that. It's called Trunk or Treat at the Kansas Expo Center Halloween weekend, and we've got Horse Care 101 featuring Temple Grandin, and that will be November 4th. At K-State Vet Med. We're still working on the location, but they're also Dr. Grandin's also coming to visit with the animal science students on Friday, so we got to get together and talk about that later. And yes, and then I'll just shout out. So December 2nd is the Lawrence Horse Drawn Parade, the largest parade of its kind, all horses only, and that's December 2nd in Lawrence. So those are the fun things coming up in the horse world. So thank you all for being with us today. What's that?
We have a bunch of shows coming up.
All right, so check out.
See most of you at one of them.
Yeah, probably so. So Laura Moore says, check out the Topeka Expo Center, Stormont Valley Event Center. I keep calling it Expo Center, Stormont Valley Event Center calendar events. Thank you all.